there. I'm Abigail Beatrice Cormack.
I'm Phineas Caractacus Cromwell.
And I'm Lucas Merriweather Buford.
And welcome to the first episode of Antiford on Air.
So if you just stumbled upon this podcast perchance and are curious as to what exactly steampunk is, well, it's kind of a wibbly-wobbly explanation. It started as a literary subgenre. Some guy was trying to explain the works of a guy named Tim Powers, and he was just trying to stumble upon a word. So he took what was, popular in sci-fi at the time, cyberpunk, and said, it's kind of steampunk. And it just caught on. So, but I guess steampunk has really become a huge community thing, of makers, DIY costumers, and writers, and people interested in zombies attacking goggled people with steam-powered aircraft, doing time travel crazy things. It's just been...
And that is actually one of the defining points of steampunk, is that it is in the age of steam. It deals a lot with steam technology, and while there are a lot of people that will argue that it can be anything, and while it's true, it can be anything, steam in steampunk really does go along with steam power.
Yeah, I mean, if you have World War II fighters doing some crazy things, it's really more something else. That particularly is diesel punky, but steampunk is very loose if you can argue it, sure, but it's kind of one of those things where you have to figure out what the rules are in order to figure out how.
There's how to break the rules. Because you can break the rules. It makes it fun.
I've seen wonderful arguments about steampunk outside of Victorian England, with bamboo punk, with steampunk happening in China. That's awesome stuff. But they knew how to break the rules and why.
And they did keep with steam. And I guess that's what it revolves around.
Industrial Revolution type stuff. So I guess we should explain who we are.
I guess that would help.
Yeah.
Yes. Greatly. So, we went to a convention, AAC, which is another anime con, which happens in Nashua, New Hampshire, as just a fun thing to do, interested in anime, into video games, whatnot. And we stumbled across a bunch of steampunk panels. Well, being makers and doers ourselves, we found interest in steampunk because it was basically everything that we want it to be. We want it to be fancy, we want it to be imaginative, we want it to make stuff.
And we like tea.
Yes, tea is very important.
Tea powers us.
Yes. And we found these panels extremely inspiring because it allowed us to open up our worlds to steampunk and be in this community and be involved with everybody else in this movement about being someone you want to be without, risking everything else in your life, basically.
Yeah, I guess we were allowed to be fancy, and we were allowed to, think about history and how alternate histories and anachronisms were cool, and how reading and, a lot of people are very well-read, sometimes intimidating, but they're all very smart, intellectual people, and there's a lot of anti-intellectualism nowadays, so it's a breath of fresh air.
So, from these panels we took away a chance to make our own world, and to form our own ideas about steampunk, and ways to figure out things that are still steampunk without being steampunk. And it sounds a little strange, but Antiford, the fictional country in which we are citizens, actually is a desert. We have no water. So how do you get steam power without water? Well, that's our whole problem. We don't know. So we form all these different ideas and all this different technology and how the society is based around water as currency, as the starter of wars and whatnot.
We decided to make Antiford a deserty place because it would create so much strife and class struggle. So you really have all that neat stuff going on there. So Citizens of Antiford is, we think it's something pretty special in the steampunk community.
The dry martini!
So,
I guess we can talk about some of the other groups, primarily the ones in New England. That's where we're from. There's the Wandering Legion of the Thomas II. Where are they based out of?
I have no idea. They go everywhere.
Massachusetts, Rhode Island.
Yeah, but they go everywhere.
Yes. Cross country.
Similarly with the Red Fork Empire, they're everywhere.
Yes.
Account named Slick Brass, to name one. And, well, there's us. And, well, we don't really know many other troops. They kind of all fall in as stragglers in other groups or as solo acts.
Yes. Lots of time travelers.
Yeah, a lot of
alternate universes and dimension hopping, everything.
Yeah, a lot of people get around the fact that they all have individual stories by letting them seep into other people's stories using crazy imaginative devices. Yeah.
So, well, these are awesome groups. We would love people to join our world. Not to be greedy and say, hey, come join us. But, because our country is so open and we have open borders, why don't you set up your own?
There are several countries, and, well, I guess we should say that Antiford is on a giant continent. The entire continent is a desert, and it's not on Earth. It's on a different planet. There are two continents on the planet, one that's small and lush, and one that's big and very barren. So there's a lot of room for growth, and while we don't mind doing more, we'd like other people to step in and be creative with us.
If it's not up now, we're in the process of creating a website and other types of things just to help people become citizens of Antiford with us. We'll have little badges or something that people can say, they're affiliated with our world. They've decided to create a character based in our struggling, deserty type steampunk. So I think we'd like to be really different in that way, that we really want to actively recruit people to create steampunk characters in our world and help build it with us. So, and I guess that leads us to going out in the community and going out to cons and stuff.
We're going to be going to at least we're going to be going to a bunch of conventions. We're always at the Steampunk Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
Awesome.
In southern New Hampshire. Yep. That's kind of our...
It's their second year this year.
Yep, it's kind of our home turf. I personally know a lot of people who are running it, all wonderful, wonderful people. So, there's also up in Portland, there's a Steampunk Affair, which is kind of a...
I think it's a tea party. We actually haven't been to this, but I've heard good reviews about it. It's a dinner night, and they have all these people that come in and do performance acting, and lots of booths to get cool little knickknacks and steampunk gear, sort of things. And that's in Maine. Then there's the Steampunk City, which is in Waltham, Massachusetts, which then takes all of Waltham.
It takes the downtown portion of Waltham and turns it into a steampunk city, basically bringing it back to the end of the 19th century. A lot of fun. Steampunks marching around and looking cool.
Lots of fun, lots of vendors.
We're geared, we're heared.
Yep. And we're weird! And, of course, there's the large event, the World's Fair, which is in New Jersey. Huge steampunk event, larger than any other I've been to. Similar to TempleCon, which is in Rhode Island. But they're technically not steampunk, they're a gaming convention, but they're suggestively friendly to steampunks.
Yeah, they've kind of been taken over by the steampunks. There's still a lot of gaming there, but there are a lot.
And that's kind of a common thread here where Steampunk Industrial Revolution really came about because another anime convention was getting overrun by too many steampunks, so they gave them their own convention. A Steampunk Affair, similar thing with PortCon. So maybe TempleCon will split, or the gamers will disappear. We're not quite sure.
And, of course, there are a number of steampunk-friendly conventions, like as Lucas said, that... As Lucas said, there's PortCon and AAC, but there's also Anime Boston, which is a very large convention on its own. It's also very steampunk-friendly.
So yeah, and there's a lot of smaller things that you can show up to. A lot of people have monthly meetings in their area. Like there's a wonderful group in Waltham, Mass. that we've been to a few times. And they're just steampunks getting together every month. And it's pretty
cool. To show off their gadgets, talk about new projects, get some help on building
just talk to other people.
Yeah.
The steampunk community's just, I've been very surprised how open and inviting and friendly anybody and everyone gets a say, gets to create and be heard.
And nobody really judges you. You could have a fantastical idea, just a ridiculous idea, and they encourage you to have that.
At the last Steampunk Industrial Revolution, we saw a cross-dressing Cthulhu. So, showing you the...
There's no boundaries in steampunk, really.
I guess that wraps up our
that wraps that up.
Yep.
episode of Antiford on Air.
Hopefully, more shall follow. Yeah.
So, thanks for watching, everyone.
Listening.
Yes, they're listening, not watching.